Hey folks, in today's video we're going to be covering Tinto Talks 13, which is our first look at religion in EU5. I will say straight off the bat that Johan has already posted, just to remind people that the information you see in these dev diaries is very kind of like early in development. Now the game is pretty developed already, as we have seen in the dev diary so far, but really, especially in this one, like where the religions are, how in detail different religions are, this is all early still. Don't get too worried that massive swathes of the map are under the same kind of generic religion kind of banner, as you will see in the art that is in the background at the moment. That is going to change in the future. They are going to make all the kind of different religions more flavorful. But as we'll see in the dev diary, there's already a lot going in here already. But as I said, let's get into it. And to begin with, every country, population or character has a religion that they adhere to. So I guess you can't be atheist in this game, which is a bit of a surprise, I suppose. But again, I guess in this time frame, not really something that was well known, so I guess it does make sense. This impacts the relations with the place they currently are and their relationship with the rest of the world, so very much like it does in EU4. And in our first screenshot again, work in progress, this is just how it looks at the moment. You can see this is for Aragon in 1337. Christianity, way far ahead, 86%. It is kindred, and a true faith. They'll go into that in a second as to what that means. The Sunnism still there for 11.93%, and there's some Judaism in there as well for 1.84%. And as you can see, the different tiers, heathen, enemy, negative view, all those kind of things that do affect your opinion with these different areas that can be affected by religion. And every religion in Project Caesar belongs to a religion group, such as Christianity or paganism. Fellow religions in the same group consider each other as merely heretics, whereas religions in different groups consider each other as heathen. If you play Crusader Kings 3, this is very much how it works there. I think it works the same in EU4, but I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. Every religion has a specific view of other religions as well that ranges from kindred to enemy, which impacts relations between countries of different faiths and how populations of different faiths view your country. So obviously this is going to impact how easy it is to go to war, how easy it is to get alliances. When you take over these lands, they're not going to like you just because of the different faiths. And as they will cover later on, it's going to be a lot harder to convert people in this rather than it is in EU4. Each country also has their own tolerance of their true faith, of heretics, and of heathens, and that impacts how happy or angry the population will be depending on which country they belong to. So again, you can tolerate these other faiths if you want to, or you can be very, very, Catholic as a realm and just hate everyone else if you want to. Even other heretic faiths of Christianity, you could just be like, no, we're a bastion of Catholicism, and we hate everyone else. Or you can go down the route of, we kind of open for everything, kind of make a communal realm that allows anyone in. There is still going to be penalties for not being your main faith, but it's not going to be as bad, obviously, as if you hate everyone. That's not going to go down well at all, is it? And then we're on to our second screenshot. This shows the tolerance of the true faith. So the base value is 3. Obviously, we don't really know what a lot of this means, kind of out of context, +3, who knows? Spiritualist is +1. And then same religion is +1 as well. Now, Johan does note here that the same religion here is from the law relating to valid heirs. I guess if you're in a realm that is always Catholic, if you're a Catholic ruler, you get a +1. I guess if you're somehow a Protestant ruler in a traditionally Catholic realm, a lot of historical examples of that, you will lose this modifier, maybe potentially get a minus modifier as well. The religious unity of your country will have a really large impact on the satisfaction of your clergy estate, which does make sense. Obviously, again, if you're a Catholic realm, and you are Catholic yourself, and you have a lot of Catholic people in your realm, the clergy estate are probably going to be very happy with you. If you start taking over, I guess, other realms with other religions, and maybe you don't even try convert them or anything, and you're just like, it's fine, they're okay, I don't mind heathens actually, I don't mind these heretics, then the clergy estate, I would imagine, start getting a little bit disgruntled with you. Maybe they come to you in an event and say, actually, would you mind converting these people? And you just go, nah, I'm good, thanks. And then obviously, bad times ahead for you. Important to know that in Project Caesar, you do not send missionaries to the locations, and eventually they have changed religion, so not really a dig at EU4, but basically saying, as always with a lot of these systems in EU5, there's going to be a lot more going on. It's not as simple as pressing a button and then just waiting for a ticker to happen. Up to 100, okay, they've converted to my religion, good times. Here in EU5, conversion is a slower process, and it relies on government activities and infrastructure. So again, as we'll probably see with trade, where you could just send a merchant somewhere and that affected your trade empire. We are seeing again here where the missionary system is kind of getting waylaid a little bit. I'm sure they'll still exist, but they're not kind of the primary way to just convert people by clicking on a realm and saying, convert this to this, and then just waiting for it to happen. It's going to be a bit more involved than that with some buildings and things like that. And speaking of, here's the madrasa. This is a Muslim country-specific building for conversion. As you can see, it has clergy food consumption +10%. Obviously, they need to be fed. Pop conversion speed +10. Again, outside of context, we don't really know if +10 is good. I imagine it must be okay. And then also max literacy 5%, because as we've seen in the previous dev diaries, the clergy, as historically, that is how a lot of people learn to read and write, and that is obviously going to be shown in the game as well. And then we've got the required production method, as we've seen previously as well. These are the goods needed to make sure this runs efficiently. It looks like maybe cloth and paper in this case. And then required for construction, masonry, glass, and lumber. If you are here for the first time and you missed the earlier dev diaries, all buildings require certain construction methods, as you can see here, masonry, glass, and lumber to build. And then the required production methods, they're what are required, as I said, to keep them running efficiently. If you're missing half of these, it will run half as well as it should do. I just wanted to bring that up in case you're just joining the channel for the first time and you missed the earlier dev diaries. There is a link to the playlist down below though if you do want to catch up. In the next section, he's going to be talking about the religious groups and these impacts which tolerance is applied and how religions interact with each other, as he mentioned before. Religions in the same group are viewed as heretics, those in other groups as heathens. Again, he mentioned that already, but I guess just reaffirming that. The groups we currently have, but may change as they develop the game. As I said at the beginning, this is just how it looks at the moment. This will change in the future. They've got Christian, Muslim, Eastern, Dharmic, Zoroastrian, Manichaean, definitely butcher the pronunciation of that, Judean, Andean, and Pagan at the moment. I would imagine there's going to be a few more as well before launch. And then you can see the religion group tooltip here. This is how the Christian religion one looks. And again, really calling out, this is work in progress. Don't think this is how it's going to look finally. But again, it lists all the different religions that are in there. You can see Lollardy and Calvinism, which I will say is going to go into a second about how that actually affects things in games. These different religion groups, it's not as simple as just a different name, really. They actually affect a few things in the game, which is pretty cool. And speaking of that, Johan's saying in some games that Paradox have made, there's not really a major difference between the religions, merely being different modifiers. And while some religions in Project Caesar will only have modifiers, many will have special mechanics. And this is at launch by the sounds of it, so we're not going to get a launch where there's not much flavor to the religions. Maybe like Muslim and Catholic, they've got a lot of features, but everything else is kind of waylaid and kind of for later updates. It does sound like here, and we'll get into it in a second, that a lot of these are going to have special mechanics from the launch, which is fantastic to see. And right now they have unique mechanics for Catholicism, Orthodoxy, various Protestants, Muslims, Buddhists, Shinto, Hinduism, and many other religions as well. Each of these will get their own unique dev diary in the future. So, you know, we've got a lot of dev diaries coming in the future. So make sure you've subscribed. Make sure you've liked the video. Yeah, that's the segue I was looking for that call out. But as you can see, a lot of stuff already in the game, a lot of features, a lot of flavor for these already this early in development. So cool to see that that is the case. And this was the interesting part. Now, every religion will still have some modifiers. That is obviously the case. Like, these are going to have some kind of generic modifiers for the most part, but a lot of them are also going to have special ones. And in many cases, these modifiers will enable or disable certain mechanics. Some examples include the fact that countries with Jain, I probably butcher the pronunciation of that religion, as the state religion cannot start wars without a casus belli, which, you know, no surprise wars. I guess if you're bordered by them, you know they can't attack you unless they have a casus belli. And then the really interesting one, the Calvinist countries will never re-roll the dice in battle as everything is preordained, as the Calvinists believe. That is actually a really interesting one. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Would you want those kind of mechanics? Would you want it to affect things outside of the religion to the extent that, like, your armies are technically worse if you're Calvinist? I like it. I think it kind of builds into the flavor of Calvinists. Obviously, with how abstracted battle is from real life, does it make sense that they wouldn't re-roll the dice just because they believe everything is preordained? But I actually love that as an idea. If there's some cool little flavor ones like that, I'm down for it. Let me know what you think, as I said, in the comments down below. But that is it for our initial look at religion. Like I said, not a massive one this week, but it does give us our first initial look at it. And as always, I will be doing a follow-up video on Friday with all of Johan's replies. And Pavia, he actually brought in some help this week because he's busy in Stockholm. So Pavia, another one of the developers, is giving some answers as well this week. And we'll go through those, as always, giving us more information about things related to the dev diary. And they always sneak in those little bits that aren't related to it, which is always cool to read. And outside of that, next week we're going to get another new feature that has not been in Europa Universalis before, and it adds flavor to the game. So put your guesses down below. I have no idea what this could be. The international organizations from last week was a new feature, and this, I've got no idea. It could be anything, obviously, but it's going to be interesting to see exactly how it adds flavor to the game, as that's what's been called out. But again, as I said in the previous video about the international organizations, it's good to see that Johan keeps bringing up flavor in the game, wanting to make sure there's a lot to do in the game and that playing in different areas is different. That was one of the main criticisms with Victoria and Crusader Kings 3, that they launched and there wasn't a lot going on outside of certain areas of the map. Like, true, he could be saying this and then we don't get a lot of flavor, but I wouldn't believe he'd be just bringing it up. Like, this is like the third or fourth time he's brought it up in 13 dev diaries that there's going to be additional flavor in this game at launch. So that makes me think there is going to be. We'll obviously see closer to the time, especially when we get some more full in-depth dev diaries. We'll get a lot more information then. But anyway, I'll leave it there for today. As always, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here. I'm covering EU5 up to announcement, launch, and beyond. And I also cover, in the same style, Crusader Kings 3, if you follow that game as well. And then I play other historical strategy games as well. But we'll leave it there for today, and I'll see you in the next one.